you'll be pleased to know that I have started making a character, or I got going on making a character, and that you can walk me through a little bit more of it so I fully understand the pieces.
Okay.
And since the text is so developed, it's almost impossible not to start commenting on it as a text. But I'm going to really bite my tongue. I know that's important to you. You know, how does a reader relate to the text and all that? And I know it's a big deal. And I swear we'll get there. But I really want to know more about, like, hardcore stuff in action first.
Gotcha.
And it's a beast. I mean, you've got 199 pages of solid text, and it's not a word is not heartfelt, and so therefore it's it's you sit down and like you're in a process when you read this. So let me tell you, I guess, where shall we start? Shall we start with continuing with my character making and then talk about the diagrams a little? Because they do go together.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So to jump right into these terms, decided to be of the Asteri, or a character to be of the Asteri. And I realized that you get one upbringing. I think I have this right. You get one upbringing from your stock and then 2 from the general supply. I don't know if that's hard and fast or not, but that's what I did.
Okay. It actually, maybe it's not clear, but you can actually choose. You can choose from the general stock if you want. You don't have to choose cultural. It's up to you.
Right. But if you do, you get one of those.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's what I did. And so while these are not necessarily in order, these are the ones that I finished. Oh, and then I did put them in order. So Wayward Soul, choosing the Arcane option. Arcane Exile with Trade and Sage option. So those seem kind of go together. And then as I was kind of looking around, I'm looking at all the different Blood and Souls paths and upbringing, and so thinking, all right, now give them some fighting. This is going to be awesome. You know, Dark Warrior wandering around all arcane and twisted. This is going to be great. And then, I'm sorry to say, I came across Tavern Drunk.
Nice.
And I just could not resist. I'm like, oh, that's where he went. So much for my effective fighting magic character. No. Okay, so you got me. You got me on the Tavern Drunk. It's like Ratcatcher in Warhammer, right? Back in Warhammer, one of the character professions was Ratcatcher. Among all the sort of dwarven warrior, chaos mage options, and people just loved that Ratcatcher. They just could not resist jumping and going in place. So it's kind of the same thing. So I then struggled slightly to figure out how many backgrounds I get. Going by the example, I went by 3. Somewhere else it says 3, and whatever. But I got 3. I don't want to talk about the clarity of the text this way or that. But I ended up with 3, I think. And so I rolled, and I haven't really picked them, but because they're all kind of cool. But I sort of wrote down all the options, and I'm going to keep tweaking my mind on it as I go through the rest. So briefly, I can choose between sharing a background with someone else, which I think is actually a really good idea. And I'm kind of leaning toward that. It's either that or I get to have a sleeping demon or seed, which is, kind of asking for it, and why not? But that's so anyway. But I'm kind of leaning toward sharing a background with another character, which strikes me as important. Then either here we go. Right. Now, either the character is a pariah, which seems to sort of fit with being an arcane exile, and a drunk, or something in the times past has affected them strongly, which is kind of that's kind of nice and solid, but the pariah, so it's really whether I want to be it all about me or about something in the setting. So I got to think about that for a sec. And then finally, either a fierce desire is involved or the character is deeply solitary. Now, the trouble is if I do if I do Demon Seed, Pariah, and Solitude, do you see how that is just like so Elric? That's too much. Right. That's just too much. Yeah. You know, I'm so dark, man. I mean, I'm so tormented. I'm so alone. Nobody appreciates me, and I could just go on like this for 4 fucking hours. So, you know, I think I'm going to mix it up a little bit. So, like, get one of those things, which is really, you know, all lonely and shit, and then the other two are like connected, like having the past with someone else, or the background with someone else and stuff like that. So I'm not quite sure. Okay. If I had to pick right off the top, I would do a Fierce Desire, Pariah, and Connected with someone else. In fact, I think that's what I'll go for. And then that way, you know, the character is a little more nuanced than just all dark and lonely all the time, with nothing but their little demon seed looming as disaster forever. You know, I mean, enough already. Right. So cool. I'm kind of glad that I had the option to kind of, you know, wiggle it so to suit. Okay, so then what else am I at? Right. I get my whatchamacalls. I get the 4 meditations off the top. I also get all these abilities, or whatever they're called, off the top, like, you know, Stigma and the Promethean and stuff like that. So I got those 3 things. Blood of Madness, Stigma, and Promethean. That's the other thing. If I'm running around with Blood of Madness and Stigma, I really don't need to have Sleeping Demon Seed 2, right? You know, enough. Mm-hmm. So that's I'm kind of letting all these different things balance each other, you know, affect which choice I make. And then I was a little stalled out at the prime and the traits because and the only reason I say that is because there's a variety of them have prerequisites, and kind of spreading out the whole constellation of options was kind of beyond me cognitively at the moment. So therefore I was going to turn to you for help thinking about the traits and stuff. And I also understand that I've got points to spend based on these choices that I took. Oh, wait, I think I forgot. No, based on Wayward Soul, Arcane Exile, and Tavern Drunk. Then I have to like look at all my skill points and like finagle them into some package that I like. Right. So I haven't done that. You know, anything where I had to wiggle points, I was like, okay, I'm going to wait for Jeff. So is that where we should go, or should we go to prime and traits?
I think the skills are fairly easy. Mm-hmm. You know, because you get each upbringing gives you set ones, and then you have free ones, and the free ones you just get to choose. You know, you just go one by one by one. Right.
So okay. I don't have the text. I mean, I've got my screen up, so I don't have my text. I didn't print out the pages. I printed out like the character sheet and stuff and the diagrams.
Gotcha.
But so if I were to look at, for example, Wayward Soul with the emphasis on arcane, then what categories and abilities and stuff do I get?
Okay. So you get one rank in willpower, and then you choose 3 other skills.
Right. Okay. So then for Arcane Exile, right, with the Trade and Sage emphasis.
Then you get Lore, Stealth, Willpower, and then you get to choose one of them.
Yeah, I remember these now that you're saying them. Okay, and then finally for the Tavern Drunk. That was like Vigor, right?
It's Awareness, Lore, Vigor, yes, and one other.
Now, one of the reasons that I sort of faded off at this point and made sure that I wanted to get things in my head is that one thing that a group decides is whether they're going to have malversation or not.
Right.
And that this character would be very different in this case. Because he's not like just, a gladiator dude who's gone off to make his fortune, like your example.
Right.
In which case, malversation or not is sort of a big group decision, doesn't really affect his character choices very much. Whereas for this character, it would affect the choices dramatically, I think. So, so I'm going to keep life easy, if wussy, and say let's not for this time.
Okay.
So the collective ghostly group sitting around us right now all nod their heads in agreement with me that we're not going to do that. So in that case, I think that affects the skills I choose. I think. I mean, if I understand correctly.
Well, the deal is with more or less your abilities and how you want the character to be. Now, if we go and look at what you can choose as, you get the Exiles with Bribe, and is the ability. You can just read that, and that may begin to put you into the vein of malversation and magic, and then you would just stay away from that option. And I believe that willpower is what kind of dictates malversation. So perhaps when you're choosing your skills, if you were doing malversation, group wanted to, then you would pump that full. And then maybe if you're not, or if you just want to be, a lot more loose in what you're able to do, then maybe you don't need to go so heavily into willpower.
Right. Well, I've already got willpower and +1 at it. So that's pretty good already. And then I also have the other skills and stuff. Well, it all kind of goes back to like what's he in exile from? Because that's mainly what the skills are going to be. And I've already got lore. I have lore twice actually. So, I'm not going to like pick off the top right now. There's a lot of skills and a lot of things to think about, and I have other questions to ask you, which would help me understand my choice or help me make better choices. So I'm going to hold off on just a sec on the skills. I'm going to ask you a little bit about. Let's talk about setting prime, and traits.
Okay.
So how do we do that?
Okay. So when you look, and there's going to be a list.
And however this is relevant, let's do what the text suggests and say that the whole thing's at twilight.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what the prime represents, it's supposed to be kind of a wide group of things that you are good at doing. And this is kind of like the reservoir of power. Where does it come from?
So yes, I wanted to ask you about what is Astra Prime.
Astra deals with anything magic.
Okay. Well, it'd be kind of interesting if we weren't playing with malversation, but still have it be Astra. It means that magic stuff would still be a big deal, but it wouldn't be kind of taking over the character's options as a practitioner.
Right.
So I kind of like that. You'll see that I'm, instead of kind of like going for max in everything, I'm kind of trying to create different angles rather than one direction for all the components. Sort of my habit. Okay, and then finally the traits, and then I get to pick two. Yeah, and this was also kind of interesting because I was really puzzled, kind of wondering what I wanted to do with this. I mean, the character needs to be effective, drunk or not. So, I don't know, attuned and resourceful strike me as quite strong for this character. I like the idea of him being kind of a wreck, but also still resourceful, in a pinch.
Right, gotcha.
So, So that's kind of what I ended up with. It doesn't, I mean, I don't really want to run through the nuts and bolts of skills at the moment. Suffice to say that I'm thinking of very bread and butter skills. You know, if whatever combination of alertness, basic weapon competence, you know, there is, I'll just get those.
Right.